Hi everyone, Nicole here again. So lots of you have been getting in touch and asking me to talk more about game analysis, which is part of the ENGAGE model: educate, notice and name, game analysis, generate and end. And I have to be honest with you, it's taken me all week to think about how I turn what is actually a really in-depth, complex piece of theoretical thinking, clinical application and science into a 3-minute sort of how-to tip for the day. Because usually game analysis would be undertaken with some sort of practitioner, usually a psychotherapist, where we really look at those unhelpful relational patterns of behavior that we get into with other people that always that keep ending up going wrong. So it's been quite difficult because, as I say, it's something you would do over a number of couple sessions with a therapist. But that said, I think one of the best ways to think about games and game analysis in everyday life is to think about what it is that keeps going wrong in your relationship with others, be it with your partner, your friends, your family, at work, whatever the situation is. It's trying to identify that same thing that keeps happening. And it's the thing that keeps happening that ends up going wrong for both of you. So where both of you end up feeling not good about yourself, about the other, about the situation. And when we try and identify what this situation is, that's a really good indication of the type of game that you and all of us keep getting into. So it's identifying that repetitive pattern of behavior. Once we've got an idea of what it is that keeps happening, then we can start to ask ourselves about the role we take in that situation. Because all of us in games theory will adapt one of 3 roles: either rescuer position, victim position, or persecutor position. And these are not static positions. They're positions that we will have a dominant first position, but usually a second follow-up position. So if I just use me as an example, so my starting position is rescuer. So I'm quick to jump in, help people, go that little extra mile at work. We're often described as being dependable, reliable, fixers. Now that's all fine and well, but the downside to being a rescuer is that we will often put our own other people's needs first. At work, we're likely to get burnt out or suffer from compassion fatigue. We struggle to say no. So even though I'm being asked to do a report for tomorrow, knowing full well I don't really have the time or the resources, I find myself saying yes. And then I hand the report in. Of course, I haven't given it enough attention, so it's not as good as it maybe should be or it's needed to be. And it comes back. And I end up feeling not great. And of course, at a deeper level, what we do with that is then turn it around with that negative self-talk, and we say, okay, so it's not the report that's not good or not good enough, it's me that's not good enough. And likewise, if we play the more victim position, then we tend to come from a I can't do it starting position, and we invite other people to do it for us, yeah? Might be thought of as being good. We can get people to do things that we don't want to do. But the downside to that is we often get overlooked. We're thought of as being not capable, maybe a little bit stupid, whatever. You get the picture? And then if we take the other position, the persecutory role as a starting position, well, we, on the one hand, can be seen as real go-getters, doers, sorter-outers. You know, it all goes well for us. We're focused. We're not frightened of putting ourselves forward. But of course, the downside to this is that we can be really rigid. We can be a bit dogmatic. We can struggle to get people to really be on our side or to be authentic in the relationship with us. And we tend to control from an element of scare. And all these positions are learnt positions that have come out of childhood for one reason or another. So what we need to do is we need to think about the situation that keeps going wrong, And then we need to think about our starting position, where we come in usually in relationships, how we start the relationship. And then what we need to do is we need to move on to identifying which position we move to. So again, if I use me, I might start as a bit of a rescue and say, yeah, I can help, I can do this, I can do that, until eventually, as will happen, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I'm fed up, or I'm just generally knocked, then feeling like it's always me who has to do it. And then what I do is I switch from rescuer to persecutor, wherein I pull the plug and I say, right, I'm not doing this anymore, up to you. Write your own report, and off I go. And of course, all of the positions have corresponding positions in a game, meaning if I start as rescuer, I'm likely to invite a victim, and we go off merrily playing the same game of I'll help, and the victim saying, I need your help, until of course one of us pulls the rug, makes a switch, and turns to another position. And that's when the game gets played out and both players end up feeling bad. Yeah? We all do this. It's by and large an unconscious process, and their behaviours learnt in childhood. So we need to think about changing those behaviours as adults. And the one way we can do that is to start with the education. We've got to learn about what situation keeps happening, how we come into it, which role we take, which role we start with, which role we stop to, and then we have to ask ourselves, what happens? How do I end up feeling? How does the other person end up feeling? And what's the outcome of that game? And then once we know that, we can start to generate new ways of thinking about what it is we're really trying to communicate. So for me, sometimes it's communicating, you know what, I'm at full level. I can't take on anymore. I'm really sorry, but this is something I can't do. So it's learning to say no. It's learning to stop putting the other first, putting myself in the picture and saying no. Then it's about communicating what I might need instead of that game compliment, which is when I do something and the person goes, oh, that's great, thank you very much. So it's learning about what the real need is that lies underneath that. And maybe it's just a stroke or an affirmation or a compliment or some acknowledgement, recognition and stimulus, because these are all things we need. And then learning to ask for that from our adult part of ourselves, which is the authentic, real part of ourselves. It's the part of ourselves that is very able to ask for our needs to be met. Okay? And then it's about negotiating with the other person, the person we usually get into these games with, about what their need is in the game and how we can navigate a new form of thinking, communication and behaviour. I hope that's helped. Let me know. There's much more we can do on this. And it's a really good tip for the day. In fact, tip for life, particularly in relationships with others. Bye.